On April 27th, I chaired a hearing on serious and credible allegations of collusion between CSIG and the Russian government in the persecution, mistreatment, and incarceration of a Russian family, the Bitkovs, who fled Russia after Putin's cronies threatened their lives, took away their business, and of course, the young daughter was raped. Anastasia, who obviously is still dealing with the aftermath of that. Our prime witness was Bill Browder, the main man whose tenacity, courage, and credibility led to at least an accountability of what happened to Sergei Magnitsky. It is because of Bill Browder that we have the Magnitsky Act. It is because of Bill Browder that we have the Global Magnitsky Act. So when he speaks, everybody should listen and should listen very carefully. And I share his concerns about the Bitkovs. He is, let me just say to my colleagues, in 2013, the Russians fled, the Bitkovs fled, I should say, and finally got to Guatemala under an assumed name. They used documents that were not true, but again, for having documents that weren't true, and they are true refugees, the Palermo Protocol says you don't prosecute when somebody is fleeing tyranny and has a well-founded fear of persecution. Igor got 19 years in prison, Irina got 14 years, and Anastasia 14. Igor spent 3 years in pretrial detention, jail, in a very, very unseemly pattern that CSIG is a part of. Now, my question to our distinguished colleagues today is, one, have you investigated, and has there ever been, is there now any collusion whatsoever between VTB, Gazprom Bank, Spear Bank, or any other person associated with the Russian government and CSIG, including Ivan Velasquez, on any matter relating to the prosecution and incarceration of the Bitkovs? Second, can you tell us what kind of information do you have? Is there any accountability? I've asked the Secretary General of the United Nations, Gutierrez, why aren't you looking into this? He says, we have no authority to do so. He told me that just a few weeks ago when I met with him. I am asking today, and I will do it by way of letter, that the Inspector General investigate the potential of collusion. My hope is that in answer to my question, you'll say that you have thoroughly investigated this and you either found it or you didn't, or to some degree there is some collusion. That's my opening questions, and I do have some further ones, but if you could answer that.
Thanks for the question. You know, this is an issue that we follow closely. Our embassy and the department have looked into these allegations of collusion. Thus far, have found no evidence that has occurred.
Okay, let me say no evidence. Could you give us a detail of what that investigation included? I mean, was it done just asking Mr. Velasquez and a few others, hey, is there collusion, or did you really dig into documents and look into this? I call your attention to this, and we'll give you a copy, an excellent piece that was put together by Mr. Bill Browder. This just reeks of collusion, so I would like to know exactly what that investigation entailed.
Sure. I would look forward to receiving that document, and I think if you'll allow us to get back to you with exactly what's been done, I think that'd be a more effective way of answering your question.
Is there any mechanism for holding CSIG to account? I mean, there's a hold on their $6 million now that has finally gotten their attention. 2 days before I had my hearing, the Constitutional Court found in their favor. Again, we're talking about 19 years, 14 years, 14 years. People don't get that many years for murder in Guatemala. And CSIG then appealed that ruling and is now, there's going to be another prosecution of at least Igor, which is absurd. I mean, if I was doing that with my family, and I would say the same to you, wouldn't you use every means possible to get out of a country that is going after you, hurting your daughter, putting you into prison, and maybe even killing you? We've learned that from Sergei Magnitsky, I thought, and many others. We called our hearing the long arm of the Russians. What kind of, let me ask you again, is there any kind of connection between CSIG and the Russians?
Again, thus far in our investigations, we've found no collusion between them.
And no contact, no cooperation?
from the information I've been given, we have not received that. We have not seen that. So that's that.
Maybe the IG will be able to ferret out more
We can-
information. Let me ask you about the Guatemalans who are held in pretrial. There is a dual national from Jersey City, Anthony Segura, 3 years in pretrial detention. I know, and I've been in Congress 38 years, Mr. Chairman, and I know, and I've been to places like Bolivia where they use prosecutions as a way of getting political retribution, and certainly Evo Morales does it better than anybody else on earth. What is your view about these pretrial detentions that go on for years with CSIC's full complicity in that?
Well, pretrial detention is a problem in a number of countries throughout the hemisphere. It's something that, we work at in our rule of law programs to get countries to establish mechanisms to reduce or eliminate pretrial detention. I think our work in that area is certainly ongoing. So obviously, it's not a situation we like. We are working in a number of countries to help address that.
Let me just ask you finally, because my time is running out. Mary and Anastasia O'Grady from the Wall Street Journal, in her piece, and I invite members to read it, Guatemala, Russia, and the Bitkovs, the family remains in jeopardy thanks to a U.S.-funded rogue UN agency. She points out immediately after the High Court decision, CSIC apologists launched a full-scale press on Capitol Hill to cover up the UN agency's many transgressions. How do you respond to that?
I'm not aware of any such cover-up. If you would like to ask, we can get you more details on what we know on that. I'm not aware of that, sir.
So there's no cover-up?
I'm not aware of a cover-up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.